Hi everyone. I do not want my name out on the internet because it never goes away once it's out there. Putting yourself out there with these kinds of stories puts a huge target on your back, or so I believe it does. I'm going to keep my identity a secret, as to not be the laughing stock of my family. Anyway, a few years ago, I decided to reach out to several different cryptozoologist investigators about strange sightings as I was having what I believe to be reptilians. I call them that because they are these 9-foot tall, half human, half lizard-like creatures, their face resembling that of a dinosaur. I have always suspected we had more than one cryptid in this state. Normally, it's all Bigfoot, 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 but I have yet to see a Bigfoot. Instead, I get to deal with these things. I live close to a large river, and have about 30 acres of land that my parents bought long ago. The lizardmen, as I call them, have been sighted off the nearby roads, which also borders along a nearby river. I am originally from Colorado Springs and live near the Fall River. I won't tell you exactly where or how close, but close enough. I decided to put out cams to see if I could catch any, or get any pictures of these. I did catch glimpses of them on camera, but nothing more discernible than blurry shapes. Strange, because deer and other wildlife show up just fine on picture. But these things, I can't explain it. I wish I could. They appear as large blurry shapes. It has to be them. Nothing else shows up as an 8 to 9 foot tall dark blur on camera. I've even gone out to the spots the pictures were taken and where these shapes were in the pictures. The branches are pretty high off the ground, several feet above my head. I don't have an explanation for that kind of activity. I've been having strange encounters with these things ever since I was a teenager, back in the 1980s. The first time being when one of these creatures stuck its face against my window while I slept, and I woke up to this hideous serpentine face staring at me. I was so terrified. During this event, as a teenager, for a short while, maybe a few years, we actually lived very close to town. We were not in the thick neck of the woods by any means. For this to happen in such a populated area gave me the chills. At the time, my bedroom window was far off the ground because there was a slope that headed down outside my window, outside my house. That means whatever looked into my window that night had to have been easily over 8 foot tall, and this thing's head filled up my window. I must have thought it was some sort of dinosaur or something, because it wasn't until later in life that I actually saw these beings in person for what they are, that I put them together, and then I was able to put it together, and I had the epiphany. The other feeling of knowing you're not safe, and that these things can get you any time. They want to put you on edge and keep you there. When it was watching me sleep, and when I woke up, it looked at me. It just had this sinister expression. It was like it wanted me to know it can get me any time that it wanted to. But it didn't. It just wanted to terrify me. I never told my parents about it. My father has had his own run-ins with Bigfoot while out hunting. They become something he's just learned to deal with over time. He's told me about a few encounters here or there, but never really gone in depth about any of them. Growing up, he would warn me about them in the woods, but I never took them seriously because I never had any sightings of them personally. I have one pic that I got of these reptilian lizardmen, where you can kind of make out their shapes, but still too blurry for any real detail. In the picture, there were 4 of them standing around this shape on the ground. The shape I believe to be a deer, but it was hard to tell in the lighting. Again, it was very strange. The deer in the picture was in perfect focus, not blurry at all, and yet here are these 4 large humanoid shapes standing around it, totally blurry. I'll give you some size estimation of just how big these figures are. They take up a span of about 4 to 5 feet wide, hulking huge shoulders and elongated heads. Very dark, since they are blurred, but you can still make out the shape. I don't see any tails or any real color to them. I felt pure fear when I was looking at that picture. I felt like I might be dealing with something much more supernatural, as cheesy as that sounds. Could they possibly be hunting and about to kill the deer? The deer in the picture is down on the ground and looks like it was either freshly killed or about to be. Either way, when I saw the things facing my window that first time as a teen, that was enough for me. It was quite ugly, to say the least. I've seen them before out in the wilderness, but they don't like to be exposed. They are very concealed creatures. They almost kind of remind me of beings that can blend in with their surroundings, masters of camouflage. I haven't seen this for myself, but I was told by a couple of my nearby neighbors that there are these huge dirt mounds, or dirt-like mounds a couple of miles back, beyond the river, into the national forest. They claim there are some significant ties to those mounds and these reptilian creatures. I have no idea if it's true, because I've never seen them, and I've been out hunting and exploring this area for a while. These neighbors of mine also keep their animals indoors and have had several personal sightings of their own of these lizardmen. They are incredibly hostile and will act aggressively when given the opportunity. The lizardmen, not my neighbors. Sorry, I thought I should clarify that. Living out here where I am, you do learn to keep your pets indoors and out of the hairs of critters like the ones around here. I do have a couple of rotties, and I keep them most of the time with me. I see how these things hunt and kill their prey, and I have zero desire to have any of my pets or dogs fall victim to these things. The only real time I take my dogs out with me is when I go into town or go on walks with them. Both my rotties are very sweet, gentle dogs, not aggressive in nature. They will guard me with their life though. They put themselves in the way between me and a mother bear before with cubs, so I know they are dedicated enough. A few months ago, as spring was coming up, we saw this buck that was passing through who had part of his face missing, large scars and cuts all over his body, and a severely disfigured leg. The thing looked pretty pulverized, but I know that deer can take beatings out here in the wild. There are times at night where I've let my dogs out to use the bathroom, and they start barking ferociously in the night. Then, the barking turns into a whimper and whining, and then turns to running, and they get back into my house as fast as they can. Something big is out there, spooking my dogs at night. That's why I don't like to let them out of my sight. There's been a couple of times at night that I'll be lying in bed and hear loud crashing sounds of the river. Whatever is making the sounds has to be humongous, because to make that sort of amplified noise, well, it couldn't come from anything small. I'll just say that. I've never seen anything at my windows though, not since my teenage experiences. I'll hear weird hissing and clicking noises at random times when out in the woods. All sorts of things I can't exactly pinpoint to one thing. I don't want to forget to mention that when we go to walks, my dogs won't go anywhere near the river. They are freaked out by it. My one Rottie just starts sniffing and immediately shuts down and puts her head to the ground. That's very unlike my dog to do that. The few crypto investigators I've invited out to my place have been far too freaked out by what I told them to do any real thorough investigations. I've only had a few, but they told me dealing with reptilian-like beings is a no-no. Is that even a thing? Is there some conspiracy that I don't know about with cryptozoologists that they can't investigate reptilians? I didn't ask to be dealing with these creatures. The very first investigator I had come out went out on a night down by the river and was gone the very next morning. Called me later that same day and told me he would not investigate further, that he was attacked by a large reptilian lizard-like creature that nearly took his life. I fear that these creatures will soon try and put a target on me and my dogs if we make the wrong move. I showed the other investigators some of the pictures that I've taken of wildlife around here, mainly deer, and how when they're taken a picture of, they're in total focus. Then, show them the ones with these large reptilian lizardmen and how they're always blurred out no matter what. That's why I said it's very supernatural-like, and it freaks me right out. Kind of reminds me of how there's always an electromagnetic pulse or static in the air that seems to fry electronics whenever there's aliens around. I'm not saying they're alien, I'm just saying it's supernatural in a sense like that. I'm sorry if I'm all over the place, but there's so much for me to type out to you. Let me know if you want me to give you even more stories and details, because I got a bunch living out here. Thanks, and stay safe. If you're going out to the woods, never go by yourself, and always bring a large, high-caliber weapon with you. Don't be fooled. You are not safe by yourself. No matter what the Forest Service or any experienced quote-unquote woodman will tell you, don't be a statistic of a missing person. Good day.